The last part this week is on subtracting fractions and adding fractions. So I want to start with subtracting fractions. And remember the other video I talked about trying to get a reasonable guess in your brain before you even start. It's always a great place to start. So the first problem says 11 twelfths take away 5 eighths. So I'm going to look at this and I know that 6 twelfths would be 1/2. So I know right away that this is greater than 1/2 and it really is only 1/12 from being a whole. So I know this is almost a whole. Take away 5 eighths. I hope you're already thinking, ooh, that's close to 4 eighths, a half. So we're really looking at almost a whole, taking away a little bit more than a half. So our answer is going to be around a half, give or take. I think it's going to be a little bit less, but give or take, that's what our answer will be. So if our answer is not close to a half, then when I'm through, I'm going to say it's not reasonable, I've done something wrong. But the first thing we have to do when we are adding or subtracting or comparing fractions is they have to have the common denominator. So I'm going to take my two denominators. I'm going to find the LCM, the least common multiple, and then I'm going to be able to subtract once I have converted those fractions, having the same denominator. I usually like to start with the largest fraction when I'm listing the multiples. So I'm going to start with 12, and I'm going to write them kind of small in case I want to do something else. 12, and then I'm skip counting by 12, the 12 times tables. 12, 24, 36. I'm going to stop thinking that something in there is going to work because 12 is such a big number. Then I'm going to go to my eighths, and I'll skip count eighths. 8, 16, 24. So now I've gotten there. I've got the first number I've come to that's alike is the least common multiple. So the least common multiple for these two numbers is 24. So I'm going to put it right here. This is kind of how I like to set mine up. You have to find what works for you, okay? So remember that balancing act, like the scales. So 2 times what? I just gave the answer away. 12 times what will give you 24? And it's 12 times 2. So if I've multiplied the denominator by 2, I must multiply the numerator by 2. And that becomes 22 24ths. 8 times what gives me 24? 3. I heard someone. And then I have to do 5 times 3, and that's 15. Now remember, my denominator is staying the same. I'm going to have 24, and I'm going to subtract the numerators. 22 take away 15 is 7. 7 24ths. And when I look at that, I know that it's simplified because there's not a common factor that will go into both of those. So my final answer is 7 24ths. And remember, I said I thought it would be a little less than half. And for this to be half, it would be 12 24ths. And so, sure enough, it's a little less than half. I think I've done that problem correctly. If you need to watch this to go back over it again, that's fine. I'm going to do one more example. And you know what? When I'm doing these videos, take some notes. Be able to write something down so you'll be able to go back and look at it. You can look at the video, look at your notes. So let's look at this one. We've got a denominator of 5 and 4. So I'm going to start and do my, find my least common multiple. I'll start with the larger one. I just like to do that. So I'm going to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Now I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to get good at this and you're going to be able to do it without doing those numbers. I promise you. And my 4s. So 4, and so as I write these, I'm looking up there to see which one I see. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and there it is. I'm not going to go any further. Okay? Now, my new denominator is 20. And some of you are saying, well, gee, if I just multiplied 5 times 4, I would have gotten that. That is a way, if you don't have a lot of time. You can always multiply those together to get a common denominator, but sometimes it makes a number bigger than what you'd like to work with. For example, in this problem, rather than working with 24, if you'd multiplied those together, another common denominator would be 96. It just wouldn't be the LCM. It wouldn't be the least. So I don't always like to do that, but if you're stuck and you just can't seem to find it, you can do that. Smaller numbers, not so bad. Bigger numbers, I don't like to work with big numbers, okay? So here we go. Keeping my balancing act. 5 times 4 gives me that 20. So 3 times 4 gives me 12. 4 times 5 gives me 20. So I have 1 times 5, and that is 5. So now I'm going to subtract. My denominator is going to stay the same. And 12 take away 5 is 7. So 3/5 take away 1/4 is 7/20. That's the subtracting part. Now the adding part, you do the very same way. You have to find the common denominator. You're just going to add the numerators. So I'm going to look at 2 examples of that, and then I'll let you get busy with an assignment. I know you're excited about that. So when you're adding fractions, you're going to do the same thing. You must have a common denominator. Remember what I just said about multiplying those together? I could multiply those together and know that a common denominator would be 50. I don't like to work with numbers that big, so I'm going to look somewhere else. I'm going to count 10, 20, 30, and I know I'm already there. 5, 10, and there it is. My LCM, my least common multiple, or my least common denominator, is going to be 10. This one's already set. I don't have to change it. It's already at 10. So this one is 10. 5 times 2, so I have to do 2 times 2 is 4. This one's pretty easy. I didn't realize when I picked it for an example how easy. So my denominator stays the same. 4 plus 3, 7. So my final answer is 7/10. This cannot be simplified anymore. There's not a common factor that goes into both of them. Now I wanted to show you can do the same thing with 3 fractions or more. And we could do this if we were trying to decide which one of these is bigger or less than. You've got to have a common denominator. So this time I'm going to list the multiples. I'm going to start with 4, 4, 8, 12, and I'm going to stop because I know I'm going to find it. That's my multiples of 4. My multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I think I'll stop. And my multiples of 2. Have you already seen it? I think I already know. 2, 4, 6. Can't be 6 because there's not a 6 up there. It's 2, 4, 6, 8. There's an 8 and an 8 here, but there's not an 8 here. No 10. But look at there. 12, 12, 12. I have to find the one that's common to all 3. So my new denominator is going to be 12. I didn't leave a lot of space here for me. 12, 12, 12. Do you know this one without having to do that? 1/2, and I just cut this number in half. That is 1/2, 6/12. Or 2 times 6, 1 times 6. 3 times what gives me 12? 3 times 4, So 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times what gives me 12? 4 times 3. So 1 times 3. So here are the new fractions that I'm going to add. If I had asked you to compare them, which is the largest fraction up here? 2/3 is, because 8 is bigger than 6 or 3. Remember, I can only compare when the denominators are the same. But anyway, here we are. We know that we have 12ths. I'm going to add 6 plus 8 is 14. And 3 more is 17. Ooh, what do I have? I have an improper fraction. The numerator is bigger than the denominator. So I can simply, I'm going to come right here, divide 12 into 17. It goes, let me get a different color so you can see that. It goes 1 times 12 is 12. Subtract, you get 5. There's nothing else to bring down. So I have 1 and 5 out of 12 left. So my answer is 17 over 12 equals 1 and 5/12. You're going to have some to solve on your own. If you think I need to watch this again, come back and watch it. Take notes. Look back at what you've learned.